Hello everyone, welcome back to Fanblade. As promised last week, I have a fully finished, fully polished electric upright bass. It is a large amount of surface area to finish. If I'm honest, this took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. In fact, I spent nearly the whole week on it. These are the little bottles of superglue that I use. On a standard sized bass guitar, I would expect to use sort of between 20 and 25 of them. Whereas on this one, I used 41 of them. Pick a card, any card. So suffice it to say that took an enormous amount of time this week, and coupled with a couple of family events that I had to go to, then I've not done a whole lot of filming. In fact, I'm filming this about 6 hours before it goes out, which gives me about 4 hours to at least get this thing playing so I have something to show you. So there's not a moment to lose. What I need to do, first of all, is bolt the neck on. Then I've got to attach some tuners. I am reusing the strings from the first electric upright, because these strings only have had about 10 hours playing on them, certainly no more than 15, before I bought a double bass. So these strings are still good. Unfortunately, I did cut them to length for the first one. Now, that's not necessarily a problem, because I am using the same scale length. But I have to be very careful. The bridge is going about there, and I'm not entirely certain how I'm going to anchor the strings. I'm going to work through this methodically. First thing, I think, will be attach the neck, put the tuners on, then I'm going to make some sort of rudimentary temporary bridge just so that I can figure out what my angles are and how I can line all of this up and have enough length there, but also have the silk ending before the bridge. So, this is going to be a little bit strange. I did also have a couple of cracks at 3D printing a pickup for this one, and the first one didn't work very well. The second one also didn't go particularly well, but it might be usable. It's just a matter of figuring out where the strings are, and then I've got to make a very complicated sort of housing to... you'll see that in a bit if I have time, or we may save that for next week. We'll find out by the end of the video. Let's do something. Now, the ferrules are not quite a perfect fit in the hole. There's about 0.5 millimeters clearance there. I've had some of the finish actually go in the hole and make it too big, so I'm going to have to find my 14.5mm bit that I bought especially for this and ream these out. Then hopefully that should just sit in there enough that I can come in with a bit of wood and then just punch them in through each other hole. So let's hope this goes okay, because it would suck to split the wood right now. Tuners are on. They're at a slight angle back because it sort of disrupts the visual flow and gives it the illusion of the headstock peg box being on more of an angle than it actually is, which is an illusion I'm happy to run with, and we'll actually get the design right next time. Okay, now I need to put this on the body. Now, my big drill press is still busted. I need to source a new spring for it, and the original supplier wants to charge me an arm and a leg and a kidney for a new spring, so I've got to figure out a cheaper option there. So, in the meantime, I'm going to have to do this on the small drill press, which is just there, and it's covered in metal filings, so I need to give that thing a blimmin' good clean before I put a highly polished surface anywhere near it. I also don't know if there's going to be enough room to drill through the body into the neck. I may have to bring the long-suffering Makita into play on this one as well. Now I need to make a bridge, and I've decided I'm not going to just make a temporary bridge. That would be a waste of time because I'll have to make a real one later anyway. I may as well just make the bridge. What I'm going to make it out of is this phenomenally hard piece of, I believe it's English oak. This is rock solid. This is very difficult to work with. I tried to make a neck out of the stuff and it didn't go well, but it will make a very nice bridge. It's got the word Littleton stamped across there. Now, Littleton is a port that is a few miles away, sort of over the other side of the hill on that side. So I believe, because I got this from the estate sale for a fellow who was building boats in his garage, I believe this is possibly piece of a packing crate that has come from England. I'm gonna guess circa 70 odd years ago, and who knows how old the wood was before that. And then of course the tree had to be planted and grow, so the chances are that this wood might be somewhere in the region of, I don't know, between 100 and 150 years old. So, yes. Traditionally, you would make a bridge out of maple. There's nothing traditional about this instrument, really. And I don't have any maple, so I'm going to use this. I believe it is justified, and it's ancient. To the bridge, to the bridge, to the bridge! That's a pretty good starting place for a bridge. That's going to give me a pretty reasonable action for an upright. Of course, once the string tension is on, the neck will pull forward ever so very slightly, and I may even have cause to lower this just a tiny bit, just for playability. But on the whole, well, not that that's aligned particularly well. Yes, I think we're definitely very close to the ballpark on that one. Now, the geometry of this thing winds up being quite weird because we're wanting to come to a fine point, well, relatively fine point, across the surface of a curve there. You actually need to curve the sides a little bit. I'm sure there's ways of 3D mapping that on a 3D printer, but yeah, I literally just eyeballed it. It looks alright. Sanding end grain on oak is no fun. I need to figure out how on earth I'm going to anchor these strings. Now, I've got a string attached to a winder up there. There's a temporary nut, which is literally just a piece of wood. Now, my mark for the bridge is there, so approximately there, and I'm glad to say the problem we don't have is the silk windings interfering with the bridge. We're good. The problem we have is that this has to anchor somewhere, and there's not enough space really to put like a string retainer right across the very edge of the body. I suppose my only real option is to move that a little bit closer, because we've got a little bit to play with there, and then I can just take up the excess on the machine head, and that'll give me, what's that? That'll give me 30 millimeters to play with on the edge of the body to build a string retainer. May have to think about this. So I've had a good hard think, and what I've come up with is a couple of bits of brass. Now, this is a retaining plate from a piano bridge. This was a huge long strip of brass with lots of holes in it that essentially sort of curved around and then bolted in place. The strings went underneath this, then over the bridge. So this was sort of basically a string locking plate from a piano. Conveniently, it's got 4 holes in it. And I've been thinking about using it for something like this for a while. Unfortunately, the strings come over and then they're going to have to pull in slightly because these holes aren't quite far enough apart. I don't perceive that that's actually going to be a problem, and it's easy enough to simply drill a couple of holes, cut a couple of pieces of this brass rod, thread bits of it, and then set that right into the body, possibly even bolted in from the back. That'll go on the front and the strings can just go through there. And of course grounding that is not even a problem. We just solder a wire on. So I think my nice clean drill press is about to get covered in metal shavings again. Okay, the strings are on, it's all tuned up. You missed out on a big chunk of that because I forgot to turn the camera on, but it's in tune and it hasn't exploded. The action is quite high. I thought it would be. I can just take a little bit off the bottom of there. Now, I don't have time to do a pickup this week, but for the purposes of listening to this thing, seeing as it's playing, I've got a microphone right here. And it's an acoustic body. It'd be much better if this was actually in the correct playing position for me. So, yes, that is a surprising amount of distance covered in a very short amount of time. I pretty much have to stop right now and start editing the video that you've just watched. So, thank you very much for watching, thank you very much for subscribing, and I will see you next week when we will hopefully finish this thing off. Maybe even start thinking about a case for it, because a case would be good, but it would be about the size of a surfboard. Yes. Anyway, thank you very much for... and I've said all that. Bye.